Oh, hi there. Been a while since I've done this. I just thought I'd try and get something out. Not had much chance. The reality is about 6 months ago, nearly 6 months ago, just from lots of things, but I've ended up going back to work or having a proper job, as the most beloved says. So obviously that's impacted on everything else that I do, because I've still been doing my knife making and leather work. So predominantly that's my sort of hobbies, which are taking up most of my time. So I do apologise to my deceased who've had to wait a bit longer for a knife than normal, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there slowly. So I'm just gonna, like I say, the videos might vary, the time wise. I'm probably waffling now because it's about long since I've done anything, but I just wanted to let guys, anybody who watches this, know that I'm still around. How much time I'm getting to do any videos, I've had a lot of things on my mind. I just haven't had the time. I've been working full time and plus, and then like I say, doing the knife work and things. I've had a couple of shows I've just been through. Over here did the Seeker show, then the Blade show. I don't know if I'm going to do the SHOT show this year. I just don't think I'll have enough stuff to be able to take with it. But I'm not even caught up yet from the Seeker and the Blade. So there's a couple of guys waiting for knives. I don't know if anybody watches this, you might see here, but I have a little neck knife. It's actually just a slight bit different on what I normally do, because particular things I was asked for, but that's pretty much ground out and the heat treat's done, so it's not far off. One of my small, what I call a 3/4, another one on the way, and this one I've actually made a bigger handle with this one. So previously the handle would have sort of like been, and I don't even know how to show this, but the handle would have probably only gone to about here, but I've made it bigger, so there's actually, you get a full hand in there, so it's quite a nice little grip, but it's about 3/4 size. But anyway, that one again, heat treat's done, so that'll be on its way soon. And that's what I was doing. And this one for a Bushman I'm making, again all heat treated, done. The scales for these, I've got the scales in the garage, they've all been cleaned down ready. They've all got they're either currently being clamped up with the liners on, or they're ready to go. So again, that shouldn't take me long, and same with the leatherwork's well on the way. So if you're waiting for a Bushman, this one's on its way well down South Island, so it's getting sorted. I'm getting there with those. So that's some current orders. I've actually got a couple on. I'm doing a heat treat cycle today. Again, it's difficult to fit that in. I mean, my heat treat takes me about 9 hours altogether, plus. So it's, I need a day off when I can do that. But anyway, other than that, I just thought I'd show you a few of the things I've been working on. I've done a few little different things. This one's about to go out there. I did a just standard bushcraft, the old Woodlaw style. This is the typical 4mm tapered tang, black G10 liners. This is some very old Pahutakawa scales with my mosaic pins, 26-degree bevel. They're quite nice. It's I've got to say, I do like the bushcraft style and practical hunting styles. I do like, but they still seem very popular. So I'm working on that. Little Puko, this will be going on to, I'll probably trade me now, I don't know. I've just been, again, whenever I've had an order and I've tried to do something along the lines of what I'm wanting to do for me, because seems silly, but when I was doing this full time, I didn't even have time left to experiment and play and practice and get better. So hopefully I am doing, but this is stabilised cowrie, G10 liners, 2mm, full tang, nice lovely light little Puko, make a beautiful working knife. It's one of my go-tos. I'll show you. I've been using this for quite some time. This is my little carry, and they clean up, this. I mean, this is, I've done deer and cooking and vegging and camp work and all sorts. That's one of my favourite little knives. I've also been playing around and little utility knife. This is 3mm, again, tapered the tang, just because it's a small utility knife. This is ironwood, not desert ironwood. I can't get that over here. If I did, I think it'd be that expensive, I probably wouldn't be able to sell the knife. But pretty much full height grind, little utility shape, really, loveless bolts. Really nice little knife. Again, I've got a little shelf. I've probably got about 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 or 10 knives that need to go on Trade Me, and I just haven't had time to load anything. I am putting a lot on Instagram. I'm trying to keep with some pictures on Instagram. Just keep chipping away at those. It's just the blooming time. But anyway, hopefully that will be going on Trade Me shortly. It's a lovely little knife. Really nice little lightweight utility knife. something a bit different. I just had a bit of a play when it came to the blade show, and what I actually made as something different was a set. And these are basically, if you want copies, clones, or based on the John EK Commando knife, Periri handles, liners, and it's sort of, I haven't gone highly polished and super finished with these to sort of like tip a hat, if you want, to the fact that, you know, the originals were mass produced, factory mass produced, but at the same time I've done a few little tweaks. This has actually got, I've actually put Scandi grinds on here rather than the original convex, which makes it a very sharp utility blade. I've tapered the tang, the large, what people thought was a skull crusher, but actually that was designed for opening ammunition boxes and cans and things like that, to stop squaddies from snapping tips off using the tip. But yeah, it's a full double-edged with the original. Now this has rather large loveless bolts I made for this, and the original handle. However, what I did was I made the original, which has my Model 1, is a full double-edged. Same thing again, all made exactly the same way, all the same sort of fit and finish and everything else, but this one has half a swedge. So this was my Model 2. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with these yet. I might keep them, and I did have a chap who I think was partly interested, but as with everything else, you know, people get an idea and then don't want to pay for it, so what can you do? But this is Model 3, and this is a single edge. So really what you've got is you've got a 4mm Scandi with a nearly 6.5 inch blade, tapered tang, either a skull crusher or a can opener or a scraper and all that kind of stuff. So it was just a bit of a sort of like a, well, it's not really just a total utility fighting knife, but you know, you could actually use it as a utility knife. And actually the handle is amazingly, you know, you think, oh, you're going to slip onto the blade. You know, the handle it's amazingly grippy. I just couldn't believe it, and I did test it before. And I think originally John EK, when he was trying to sell it to the military, when he went in, they all complained, it hasn't got a guard, it hasn't got a guard, and he greased his hand up, took hold of the knife and drove it into the floorboard, and he drove it into the floorboard that far they couldn't pull it out, and his hand never moved. And it's surprising, but anyway, these are obviously for show and things like that. And what I did with the sheaths, I've never even been in the sheaths and held, but again, as a tip of a hat to the to what would be the military type of thing, I've made quite a standard, you know, just a standard sheath. I hope this all comes out on, because I'm using my camera still, I can't even see anything. But yes, I've done the same sheath for all three. Obviously tie down holes put on it for paracord or belt loop, double clippers for fastening the knife on, which obviously match up with the scallops in the handle for grip. But yeah, it was just something I fancied, trying something different. I'd never made a double-edged blade. I'd done a few scallops for bowies and things for people, but I'd never done anything like that. So it's very interesting. It's sort of things that are pushing my skills as a maker to try and get me to improve. You know, not just doing the same things again and again, but constantly improving. When you push your boundaries a little bit, you go back to what you do, like doing the Scandis and things for the bushcrafters, and you improve. You see the improvement. It does short circuit that. And the last thing is I've also been trying to develop my own set of bushcraft knives, or whatever you want to call them. I've got a couple of things I'm working on, but what it's ended is I've been through quite a few of these, and I've made a knife and then reground it and reshaped and refitted it. Currently, the standard, if you want the standard size, which would be, you know, akin to the Woodlaw. So obviously, if I'm saying Woodlawn, people don't know. You know, the generic bushcraft knife. It's a similar size to that, which is this one. Now, I'd made it, I took it out, I gave it a good bit of use. Didn't like the handle. I didn't like what I'd done with the handle. It wasn't working, so I basically took the handle off, and that was interesting because Christ, that took some teching off. I actually hacksawed down one side, which I have to do anyway, and then I tried to just knock the pins through to loosen it, and I couldn't do it. They wouldn't come off. I had to cut down both sides and then grind it off and clean it out and re-drill it out. You know, so that's G10. That's the G10 epoxy. It is absolutely amazing stuff. But anyway, that just really needs. I'd cleaned the blade up obviously because I took the handle off, so I thought I might as well. But basically, that's due to come out of the clamps this evening, and then over the next day or two, I'll just finish off the handle. I've got the sheath and everything for it somewhere. Well, you won't be able to see it, but it's actually hung up there. Oh, I did two for this one. I've done a standard belt sheath with dangler and everything, like, you know, generic bushcrafty. But I've also been playing around with some flat top sheaths, just for something different, just to push my leather work out. So that would be the middle. But basically what I've started with is, if you want my version of, because I use the little neck knives, and I've made a neck knife. However, obviously, as you can see, we have, this has Pohutukawa scales. I don't know how that's shown. It's quite a nice bit of timber there, just one mosaic and a pin. But if you notice the shape of the blade, almost a sort of a leaf shape, and it drops, so the whole blade is almost a parabolic curve. I think it's a parabolic curve. I could be talking absolute crap there, but it does have a gentle, and it drops as you've got your steady curve, and then as it gradually drops away more to give you that little bit more belly. It's only 2mm. With this one, there's no liners, just to keep weight down, and it's just into the 4 fingers. I mean, I'm a medium-sized hand, about size 8 hand, 8 glove, and then that obviously goes around your neck and clicks into there. So, which they haven't done bad, because I've actually, this is, I think, once I was happy with this and I started using it, and again I've actually cleaned this up because I just tweaked the blade a little bit. The last 4 of them have just gone. Some people have seen them, so I've got one I'm building at the minute. Well, it's actually in the heat. It's one of the ones I'm heat treating, but they've gone. So that was basically the first size. And the second size, which is like your 3/4 size, which often go for people who are a bit smaller or smaller hands, or you want something lighter weight. I thought, right, I'll do a middle size one. Now this one again, this particular one is in 2mm with red G10 liners and Puriri scales. Puriri, God, it's bloody hard timber. Nice timber, very hard. Not the greatest to look at, but it ages beautifully. It goes really brown and very nice. Now, as I was saying, as you can see here, I've actually scalloped, as well as putting the bit of the classic Coke bottle thing. I've also altered the back from the standard bush law type thing, wood law. I just find this gives me more variety of grips, just more comfortable. But on the main one, where I took it in here, it made it a little bit thin for the web of the hand, so I won't be doing that on the full size one. But again, you can see they've done the same sort of thing with that shape of blade. This is a 22° bevel. I'd say on 2mm, but obviously you can do it in 3. But the whole point was to make it nice and light. Usual leather work. So nothing to there. Like I say, number 3. I've got one of the. I made 2 at the time. This one has. Oh, that's Pohutukawa scales. So my old, very dark, very old Pohutukawa. And green G10 liners, again 2mm. That spear point, it cuts amazingly well, rather than it being just flat across here. And then now that little bit of constant curve really gives it a lot more bite, really gets it cutting really well. And as I say, I've just been having a little bit of play around with a flat top sheath, and it's just that little bit of pushing the boundaries a little bit, learning to do some new things. And the first couple went straight into the sin bin, but getting there, it's just getting that balance between it sits in, but you can get it out nicely, because you don't need it to be really tight when you've got a flat top on there. In fact, you don't want that, because it makes it harder to get in and out. So anyway, that's that one I'm doing. And what I have here, this was the first one I actually started to make. When I got to this point, I thought, right, I was happy with it and I wanted to make it, and I made this. But again, as I say, this is more your stereotypical woodlaw handle. It's just very nice, a little bit. I wanted something a bit different. So what I actually did was I've gone for a handle more of this shape, but with the blade again. And as you can see, it just gets that little bit bigger. This is 3mm. The one I've done for myself is 3mm. I have a 4mm, I think, in the heat treat today, so 26° bevel. But I got to there and I just thought, well, I've still got some decarb in, anti-carb in there. I got to this point and I thought, no, I want a different handle. I want to match all the handles up and everything, so that's what I did. So that's just gone on the wall. It might get made up at some point, might not. And lastly in this set is the big boy of the group. This is my bush knife, and I got. So just something something different, something I just don't have time. I don't do a lot of bigger knives. I don't get asked for them. And this is 3mm or 1, red and green G10 handles, stainless tubes. This has a 30° Scandi. Obviously the 30°, because it's for heavier work. where I am, there's a lot of, it's bush, it's secondary jungle, it's bush. You can see I've actually started using it, I've actually been playing with this one. So I've already starting to take that patina on. But there is some chopping, but it's not hardwood. You're not tending to cut down hardwoods. It's often lianas, supplejack, ferns, grasses, things like that. Things that you might use for tinder and for shelter and things like that. So you don't need the big, really big, heavy things. It's more just a bigger, more efficient slicing tool, really. Also, really handy on big fish. Did a very nice fish the other day. And then the handle, I've made sure everything is more rounded. And again, this does have a very slight dip here, just a slight waste into it for increasing the Coke bottle, and that just means you can really choke down. So I can choke right down to here, and if I'm wanting to cut or split or do fine carving, I can get right into the power point. And also at the same time, that little swell at the back does allow that little bit more chopping, which is the whole point of having the lanyard on there, just in case. Because it does get very humid and sweaty and sticky, and that just basically goes to that point. But the whole point is that the belt actually goes through here. So when it sits, here, the belt will come over the top and go through that loop, so the knife sits inside the belt. So that's what keeps it in. So that's that. So I've got quite a bit of stuff going on. I've had a lot of knife stuff going on. Unfortunately, the videos I haven't had much time to do. Something else I've actually started doing, and you notice anybody who's followed some of my videos or looked at some of my older stuff, the reality is I have been into bushcraft a long time. In fact, I was into bushcraft long before it was bushcraft. I mean, I did my first, if you want, proper structured survival course in 1989, which was with Lofty Wiseman and Brummy Stokes down in Hereford. That was my first proper survival course. Then that was 89. I mean, before that, everybody used to say it was Boy Scouting, so we used to go Boy Scouting. Then it became the survival era. Then from the mid-90s and on, when Ray Mears turned up, I did a number of courses down at Woodlaw from I think 96, I think it was 96 to about 2000. And then after that, later on, I got into doing a lot of tracking, nature awareness tracking. I went to a tracking school on a regular basis in Devon, Shadowhawk tracking school with Ian Maxwell. I was there about 7 years on just helping out and helping teach and learning and things like that. And then as I came over here, I lost a bit of my way and I didn't lose my way. I was just doing more hunting and fishing, and I've tried a few times to get back in just to try and structure the skills and things. And I've recently actually signed up to do the online elementary bushcraft course with Paul Kirtley from the UK. I've heard a lot of good stuff about him, and I've read a lot of the reviews. I ummed and ahed for a long time, and I've got to say I've only just started doing that. And I thought, well, at the end of the day, hopefully it might structure my practice at getting my skills back up to speed, and a lot of new skills and new knowledge, because there's always things coming along. I mean, when Ray started and we started, bushcraft started to come along, a lot of people have almost had to relearn, refine, re-study, and piece together a lot of these outdoor skills which were getting lost and just hadn't been used for so long. So hopefully I'm going to learn a lot more, and I've quite enjoyed what I've done up to press. But at the same time, I've just had a trip down Waiyiri Falls in the Kamais, and I've got quite a few pictures from that. I'm going to put some pictures, I'm going to put them on Instagram. I'm on Bush Bimbler on Instagram. Anybody who does Instagram, I'm on Bush Bimbler. So that goes on there, that goes onto the Facebook as well. So I haven't been able to keep up with my website, sgwknives.com website, sgwknives.com. A lot of informational stuff about what I do. So I've an awful lot of rambling and bambling here, but if I get the time to get out when I'm doing the things I want to do, then I will. I'll try and video some of the stuff I'm doing. I don't know how that will work out. This weekend was a bit rushed, so I didn't really get to do much. I did a bit of some real basic bushcraft, woodcraft type stuff, because although I'm using my hands a lot to do this, it's different. It's suddenly gripping a knife and using a knife, and also my axe. I've had this for donkey's years, absolute donkey's years. However, I just thought, well, I don't use it for anything else now. I thought I might use it for whittling and carving. So what I've actually done is I've actually ground a Scandi onto the edge. So that's actually a flat Scandi, and I took that this weekend, extra weight to carry, but I took that this weekend just to see how it went, and it carves beautifully. It really does. It's really controllable, taking wood off and doing feathers with it. You can do it just gripping that blade. It's very wobbly, it's not ideal, but it's sufficient. It works, and it does work. So again, I'm just trying to get back into almost playing. Something I started a long time ago was putting bolsters onto my knives, and then that slipped by the wayside because obviously it takes longer, it's more money. People don't pay a lot of money for my knives because nobody knows me, despite the fact that they are bloody awesome. 90%, probably 90% of the knives I sell now are actually to people who know people who've got my knives, which is nice. So, and I don't have the time to advertise because I don't have the time to bloody make them. But that's quite, so I've been able to do that, little bits and pieces like that I've been doing. So with that, I'm going to sign off because I've waffled and rambled and probably bored people to tears. And if anybody's made it to this point, thank you very much. Hope everybody has a great Christmas, Happy New Year, be safe, and be productive. And maybe I'll catch you on the trail if you're over here. If you're not, maybe I'll catch you in the UK when I'm back over there next year. And with that, like I say, I'll sign off and have a great holiday period, good Christmas, nice New Year, and I'll see you on the flip side, guys.